Battlefield 6 is here, and I finally got the code thing to unlock the early access watching Twitch streams. Guys, I haven't been on, like, watch Twitch in a while, and man, it feels like it's gotten worse. Like, now it seems like there's, like, way more ads and crap if you don't pay the money and whatnot. I don't know. Anyway, that's just a whole side note. The point is, I did finally get the Twitch drop thing to work, and now I have the early access to bring you guys some benchmarking content. Is G the grenade button in this game? I think it was. Was it? I don't know. Can I get revived? Are there... am I gonna... help! Help, guys! I'm dead. Okay, anyway. Now, what shouldn't be dead is my PC. This is an RTX 5090 we're starting out with, and a 9800 X3D CPU, 32 gigabytes of DDR5, CL30, 6000 mega transfers per second. All of that RAM. Anyway, the point is, it's basically the highest end gaming PC that you can build, and we're gonna go test out how it does in this game. They should not revive me here. There's bad guys and stuff. Anyway, though I do plan on testing out some other GPUs as well. I'm also interested in testing out some CPUs in this game, because oftentimes Battlefield games can be very CPU heavy. You can end up pretty CPU bound, so that'll be interesting. However, with EA games in particular, I've noticed if I change PCs too frequently, now I don't know this in Battlefield 6 yet, but in other EA games I've tested, like I remember Jedi Survivor, I was trying to do some CPU testing. Once I changed my to a different PC, the game just banned me for 24 hours or something. I think it was part of their like de novo crap or something. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm a little bit gun shy on that with EA titles, so I don't think I'll jump into CPU testing initially, because usually EA games will let me change the GPU a few times. I should actually pay attention here. I'm getting shot. Who's shooting me? Where are they at? Where are they at? There's a bad guy. All right. Lost my train of thought. Sorry, sometimes when I benchmark games, I don't care about the game, but I'm actually excited to play this, so I'm like trying to sort of pay attention, but I'm not paying attention enough to actually do well. It's a little bit frustrating. Anyway, wait, why is chat showing? Let's hide chat. Who knows what chat's gonna say? What is the H? Wait, no, not H. There we go. All right. Completely lost my train of thought. Wow, my team is getting wrecked. Okay. Definitely not my fault. I'm paying full attention. Long story short, we're gonna change out a number of graphics cards, and usually I can do that in EA games without getting banned by the copyright stuff. We can usually at least get a few in. So we're starting here with the highest end system possible. Currently we're at 4K max settings and native 4K resolution, and we're actually around 140 frames per second. So honestly, for a lot of people, even a high-end 4K monitor, until recently, 120, 140 hertz was about as high as they went. More lately, you can get 240 hertz, so it's possible we would want more frames. That guy snuck up behind me. How rude. Anyway, so while I'm dead, how about we actually try to get some more frames? So the most obvious way to do that would be to change to DLSS, and not frame generation, but the upscaling, lowering the internal rendering resolution. Now, I've also noticed there's this weird performance preset, which seems to mostly just adjust graphics settings in the same way that graphics presets normally would, but there's also graphics presets, so this seems a little bit strange to me. We might play around with that in a minute. But anyway, we are going to say that the graphics right now are on the Ultra preset, as we said, and we're gonna go to the advanced settings where we can change resolution scaling. I'm not gonna turn on frame generation, but it is available. Frame generation in multiplayer games, not my thing, because it slightly delays showing you a frame in order to use your frame as input to try to figure out what happened in between to generate frames in between. It's frame interpolation. So I feel like in competitive titles, it slightly delays your input responsiveness and what you're seeing, so it's not a good fit. Upscaling, though, does increase performance by lowering the internal rendering resolution. We'll start with quality mode, which will render at 1440p internally, while still trying to output to the 4K resolution of my monitor here. Why is it not telling us that I'm on the... There it is. So we are on 4K resolution here, DLSS quality. And away we go. Where can I actually spawn in on here? Okay, here we go. So, reset the frame rate counters. Okay, it is looking like performance went up, so we were not CPU limited at first. Reducing the burden on the GPU using DLSS quality has improved performance. Looks like up to around 170-ish frames per second. Looks like there's some enemies across the way there. Oh, he's running in on me. How rude. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna get rezzed. We're gonna respawn. So yeah, it is looking like DLSS quality was getting us to around that 160, 170 frames per second mark. But I'm actually noticing the GPU is no longer reporting near 100% utilization. Looks like we're closer to 93%, 95%. That can indicate that we could actually be a little bit CPU limited now. It looks like it's actually pretty balanced between the CPU and the GPU. Okay, if I actually stop here for a second, if you look in the top right corner of the screen, it's gonna be super tiny. If you're on a phone right now, you can pinch to zoom. That's the in-game performance metrics rather than the external ones that I'm doing on the left-hand side, top left. Notice it's showing us the CPU frames per second versus the GPU frames per second. The GPU looks like it's capable of around 200 frames per second here, but the CPU is showing closer into the 180, 190 range, which is what our actual frame rate is. In other words, it looks like we are actually CPU limited right now. Now, I'm on the 9800 X3D, which is an extremely high-end CPU. In most games, it's the fastest one on the market. In some games, Intel's high-end CPUs are faster, so it can vary on a game-to-game basis. But on average, the 9800 X3D is the gaming champion right now in CPUs. So it is looking like the highest end CPU in gaming right now is topping out at around 200 frames per second, at least in this map. Looks like a little bit shy of it, around 175-ish average. So, I mean, I would have hoped it could go higher, but that is still pretty high. I don't think you need a higher frame rate than that to, like, enjoy the game or anything. I still managed to not get that kill, though, so I'm going to blame the CPU. If only I had had 300 frames per second, we would have got that one, guys. But what I'm trying to get at here is by lowering the GPU burden even further by going to, like, DLSS Performance, I'm not expecting to actually have the game run any faster. So I'll actually look at that here. So I think we got to go to Advanced here, Upscaling. Let's go all the way down to Performance mode. So I'm actually expecting the averages to stay around 175 or so, depending on what's going on the screen, because yeah, look, the GPU usage percentage has dropped into the 80% range. And that is indicating to me that, yeah, we are definitely waiting on the CPU. And it is gonna keep us bottlenecked here. So that does not mean that we can't get a higher frame rate necessarily, because some other graphics settings do usually affect the CPU. There's usually not a lot you can do for any like huge frame rate changes on a CPU with graphic settings in a game, but usually if you turn certain things down, you can get some improved performance on the CPU. So since I'm dead anyway, let's go ahead and try that out. Now, one thing I do want to try out is this performance preset thing, because like I said, if I go to the performance mode here, I notice that the graphics settings go all the way down to low everything. So it seems to me like it's the same as just setting the low preset, which is kind of weird to me, right? So it seems a little bit redundant, but maybe they just wanted to make a one-click button where there's just like, somebody doesn't want to mess with graphic settings, they just want high performance. So they're just like, boom, performance mode, here we go. That seems to be what that is, because it does just seem to be adjusting a bunch of the graphic settings. Not necessarily the DLSS or render resolution settings, which is what I thought it might be doing, but it doesn't appear to be that. Anyway, notice that it actually is increasing our frame rate though. I still looks like we're CPU limited because I left on DLSS Performance and we're now at low graphic settings. But notice that our overall frame rate now is averaging around 220. So what that means is that between the ultra preset and the low preset, there seem to be enough CPU burden happening that can be adjusted, that gives you scalability on that, to be the difference between around 220 frames per second on the 9800 X3D and what were we getting before? About 175 frames per second. So that does give us some scalability on the CPU, which is good to see. So it does look like, you know, if you want the lower settings in order to get max performance, there is scalability both on the GPU and the CPU. Again, it would be nice if the 9800 X3D could get even higher than this, but like I said, it's not like this isn't, like let's just say it's my fault that I'm not playing well here. Let's just blame it on me not paying attention, right? Because we're benchmarking. Let's say that's the reason. Okay. And yeah, they chased me down. All right, so really I'm not sure if there's much else we can play around with here, given the fact that we are running into CPU limitations. We're already down at the lower settings. I will say the game still looks pretty nice on low settings. I can certainly tell there's some low textures here. I will also say that the game does warn you that some settings don't apply without restarting the game. So it's possible that on a restart, even a few of the settings could switch over to low, which maybe didn't accurately switch over to low yet. I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's we definitely saw some performance scaling, so most of the settings have applied. I'm gonna revive a teammate. Come on, get up, I'm dying. I'm dying. Did I get him? I got him. Okay. I did it, I helped. I helped, guys. All right, what could we play around with? I mean, I could try hitting the balanced, well, try playing with the other graphics settings a bit. Or actually, since we're CPU limited already, perhaps we could play around with the resolution scaling a bit more. So we're going to go to graphics settings again, and advanced, and let's back off of DLSS Performance, and in fact, you know what, let's actually turn upscaling off, but instead I'm going to adjust my monitor resolution. So what if I was on a 1440p display? So here we're at 1440p now instead of 4K, but it's 1440p native. So let's see how we do. Again, I imagine we'll just end up CPU limited to around 220 FPS, but don't say I didn't test it out, because I know not everybody with a 5090 has a 4K display. A lot of it might be specifically for playing competitive games at higher frame rates at 1440p, or are any of you guys running a 5090 on 1080p display? Tell me no. Okay. What are we doing? I'm getting shot at. Okay. But yeah, we're definitely just GPU limited here. Sorry, not GPU, CPU limited here. So turning down the to 1440p didn't really do anything. Ah, apparently I should have reloaded. All right. Try to stick with my dudes this time rather than run off on my own, not paying attention and die. How's that? Now, I have not played much of this, but I am having fun so far. I'd probably be having more fun if I wasn't changing graphic settings, but you know, gotta bring you guys the benchmarks, right? What? That was a teammate up there. I'm an idiot. I just threw a frag at my teammates. Probably no friendly fire, right? Probably. Do I have like a shotgun backup weapon or something? Let's see. Oh, I do. Look at that. Oh, apparently I'm not very good at using it though. All right, we are near the end here. What else should we test out? I guess I could try to go back up to the ultra settings. So I guess I need to go. Do I need to go to custom here and then make sure that that's on ultra? Okay. We'll try that. So we're now at 1440p ultra at native resolution. So frame rates did go down a bit because we are now at least somewhat GPU limited, or it's or actually no, because we went up to ultra, there's more burden on the CPU as well. So actually still looks CPU limited. We're getting 80% GPU utilization here. So I mean, I guess one thing we're learning is definitely that the CPU is going to be a big deal in this, which doesn't surprise me, you know, given it's a Battlefield game, that is often the case. So if you're trying to do a build, you know, a PC build just for this game, I would say, like, if you're wondering, you know, blow all your budget on a 5090 but not get a 9800 X3D, probably not the best choice, whereas in some games it would be. Here things appear to be more, I think you could get away with a much lower GPU for sure, and just use upscaling, but make sure you have the higher end CPUs. Like I said, I would love to do a lot more CPU testing, but I'm a little bit afraid of getting the EA blocking me from testing things out. So I'm gonna switch out GPUs first before I worry about CPU testing. So I'm definitely gonna go to a much lower GPU next. So if you're like 5090 is unrealistic, how does this do on the minimum GPU? Maybe we'll test that out next. So yeah, definitely gonna go down to a much more reasonable GPU, and I think we might have a little more entertainment from that. The 5090 was just like, turn things down slightly, now you're CPU limited even on a 9800 X3D. So there it is, guys. It does seem like the little green text here, the performance metrics in the top right of the screen, which I know are super small for you, but those do seem useful for identifying if you're CPU limited or if you're GPU limited, because you can compare the CPU frames per second to the GPU frames per second. And again, that's available through the graphics menu in the game. I forget exactly where I found that. Let me see if I could find it and show it to you. Man, it's in here somewhere. Was it under System? I don't know, man. It's in here somewhere. I don't want to waste all your guys' time. I feel like I must have seen it in the graphics menu because that's where I was playing around with. I don't know, guys. I'm not going to waste your time. It's definitely in there. There is a performance metrics setting. I'm just missing it right now. And I do think that would be useful, like I said, for checking if you are GPU or CPU limited. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will test out some other graphics cards very soon. So stay tuned to the channel. Hope all of you have an excellent day.